Okay, so in this video, we are going to have a look at the place value of numbers. So it's important to remember that our number system is a decimal number system where each column is either 10 times greater or 10 times smaller than the column on either side. So when we look at numbers, whole numbers, our first block effectively here is our hundreds, tens, and ones. We then can go into our thousands blocks, okay? And in our thousands block, we also have ones of thousands, tens of thousands, and hundreds of thousands. And then if we go to the next block, that will be our millions block. And again, we have ones of millions, tens of millions, and hundreds of millions. So if, for example, I write this number here, so we've got 2349742. So this number here is 23,497,422. And you can read the numbers in each block in their entirety. So in the millions block, we have 23. So we can write that as, let me just type down here. So we can write that as 23 million. Okay, and then we can put our comma in here. We then go into the next block, so the thousands block. So we're going to read this number in its entirety. So here we have the number 497. So we can write this as 497. And because it's in the thousands block, we're going to put 1,000 after there. And now we come to our final block, which is our hundreds block, with just the hundreds, the tens, and the ones. And we can write and 422. Okay, so that is how you would write that number in words and how you would read that number as well. So you read it in blocks. So you have your millions blocks. So you've got 23,497,422. Now, you may be given a number in words that you then need to write in digits. So for example, if I were to give you the number 5,015,022. So in order to write that number in words, in digits, you need to make sure that you get your place value, your numbers in the correct columns, okay, so that you have correct place value. Now, the common error here is people write 5,015,022. Now, this is incorrect because every column needs to have a digit in it. And if there isn't one there already, we can put placeholders in because this number would actually read as 51,522. So this is incorrect. So for 5,015,022, we can write, if I come up here, I'm just going to rub out this example up here. So you can put a 5 in the 1 millions column. We then have 15,000. So we have no hundred thousands, but we can't just leave that column blank. We need to put a 0 in here. We have 110 and 15. And then when we come down into our hundreds, tens, and ones block, we have 22. So we have 0 hundreds, we have 2 tens, and we have 2 ones. And that is how you would construct the number. So that is what you need to be doing with place value. You need to remember that if a column doesn't currently have a value, you need to use a 0 as a placeholder. Okay, so you can't just write the numbers as you read them. You need to ensure that there are placeholder zeros in place where required. So now we're going to look at how we can identify the value of certain digits in a number. So if I just clear off what we have here so far, and we go and have a look, and I write a number up here. So say we had the number, this number here, 23104.789, and you are asked for the value of the digit 3. So this digit here. So this digit here is in the 1000s column. So this digit here would be worth 3,000. If we look at the value of the 8 is in the hundredths column. So the value of this digit here is 8/100ths. Okay, you could also write that as 0.08 if you wanted to as well. So these are both the values here. So identifying the value of numbers, you need to think about the place value column of the number, the digit itself. You can then take the digit and then you apply the place value to that digit there. So hopefully this has helped you to understand place value a bit more. And we are now going to go and have a look at rounding. Okay, so if we look at this number here, we have 7,423,056.457. So if we want to round this number, we need to be aware of the rules of rounding. So the rules of rounding are 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. We leave the digit as it was before. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We round to the next digit on the number line. So anything 4 or below, we don't change the digit. Anything 5, between 5 and 9, if the number follows the digit we're rounding, we need to round that digit up. So I will demonstrate this now. So if we wanted to round this number here to the nearest million, okay, so we would look at the millions column. This is the number we are looking to round. So we're going to keep this 7. Everything else that follows will become zeros. So we can replace these 6 digits here with a 0 and ignore these altogether. So if we put in 3 zeros, like this, we have 7 million. Now we need to make a decision as to whether this number stays as a 7 or we round it up to an 8. So to do that, we will go to the next digit here. So this is a 4 and 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, we leave it as it was before. So rounded to the nearest million, this number is 7 million. So now we're going to go and have a look at rounding it to the nearest 100,000. So again, this time we're going to go and look at the column that we're rounding to. So in this case, it's the 4 here in the 100,000s column. So this time we are going to keep the 7 and the 4. They are staying. These digits here will be replaced by zeros and these digits here can disappear completely. We then need to make a decision. Does this 4 stay as a 4 or do we round it up to a 5? And if we look at the next column, we can see it's followed by a 2. So this will stay as a 4. So we can write 7,400,000. These 5 digits here can be replaced by zeros and rounded to the nearest 100,000. This will be 7,400,000. We're now going to go and have a look at rounding this number to the nearest 100. So our hundreds column is here. We have a 0 here. So everything up to this point will remain in the number. So the 7 million, the 423,000, and this 0 here, they all remain. These 2 digits here, the 5 and the 6, will be replaced with zeros, and we can lose these 3 digits here completely. But we need to make a decision about this 0. Does it stay as a 0 or do we round it up to a 1? If we look to the next column, we have a 5 here. And 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, we round to the next on the number line. So this will become a 1. So rounded to the nearest 100, this number here will be 7,423,000. This 0 becomes a 1, and the 5 and the 6 here will be replaced by zeros. So rounded to the nearest 100, this digit, this number here is 7,423,100. Now, if I wanted to round to the nearest 1, we'll come up and have a look here now. Let me just rub these bits out. So we're rounding to the nearest 1. So this means that this whole section here remains. We are looking at the ones digit. So this is the number we're looking at. And to decide whether this stays as a 6 or we round it up to a 7, we need to go to the next column, which is here, and is a 4. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, leave it as it was before. So rounded to the nearest 1, this number will be 7,423,056 because we can lose all these decimal points here. Now, if we were asked to round this to the nearest tenth, this time we would need to look at the number as follows. So these are all the digits that will remain. So all the way up to the tenths column here. We then need to focus on the column we're rounding to. So this is the tenths, which currently has a 4 in it. And to see if this 4 remains a 4, we need to go to the next column along, which is a 5. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, we go to the next on the number line. So this 4 will become a 5. So rounded to the nearest tenth, this number here will become 7,423,056.5. Now, sometimes they'll ask you to round to tenths or hundredths or thousandths, and other times they will ask you to round to a number of decimal places. So with this number here, this is one decimal place. This is your first decimal place. This is your second decimal place. And this is your third decimal place. So if I ask you to round this number to 2 decimal places, you would want to keep all of these numbers here to this point here. So we have got 7,423,056 decimal point in here. Now we're rounding to 2 decimal places, so we want to keep these 2 numbers after the decimal point, but we need to decide if this 5 stays as a 5 or we round it up to a 6, and to decide that we go to the next column where we have a 7, and 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, we round to the next on the number line, so this 5 is going to become a 6, and here we have 7,423,056.46. So when you're asked to round to 2 decimal places, remember you start counting the decimal places from the first column after the decimal point. The place value of all the other digits does not change. You do not need to move the decimal point. The decimal point stays in its place after the ones number, and you count the number of decimal places after the decimal point, and then you make a decision as to whether your second decimal place needs to be rounded up or it can stay the same. So hopefully that has been helpful in terms of clarifying the rules of rounding and place value.